Hello and welcome to the Engerati studio, live at the European Utility Week in Barcelona. My name is Sophia and I'm joined by Jonathan Sandham, Smart Network Manager at ESB Networks. Hi Jonathan, how are you?
Hi Sophia, how are you? I'm good, thank you.
I'm good, thank you very much. So let's kick off this interview. So as you know, we had an attack on Tesco Bank in the UK, and of course it was really unfortunate for the people that were affected, but a successful penetration of critical infrastructure would have been worse. Can you crystallize some of the new threats vector that are you seeing at the moment?
Yeah, I think what's becoming more and more apparent to the DSOs and system operators is that external parties and third parties are becoming more active in the system. So if you look at system operators and utilities, the network was built 50, 60 years ago, and a lot of the communications and a lot of the security is well understood. The network is well understood. We know how to manage it and operate it, and to secure it very well. New technologies are coming from the consumer side of things very quickly, in the form of solar PV, electric vehicles, e-mobility and electrified heat. And each of those present a new fundamental use case that wasn't anticipated by a grid operator. So from a system operator and a grid operator point of view, we need to address those new requirements, and the big question is, what are we trying to accomplish? And at the end of the day, we're trying to keep the lights on, like we're trying to keep the lights on in Utility Week. If for whatever reason the lights don't stay on, that's a fundamental failure of security within the system, and that's a fundamental failure of cybersecurity if it's in the remit of technology. So where we find ourselves in ESB is that these new technologies are becoming proliferating throughout the network. We're rolling out smart metering. We're putting in sensors further down into the electrical system that more than we ever did before. And the key requirement for us is to make sure that we ensure that the security of those devices is within our own control and is understood. That becomes a challenge when you have new players in the market. So Tesco Bank wasn't Tesco Bank 10 years ago, it was just Tesco. They're new to the banking industry. They had a successful penetration last week, and the challenge for them is to get back off their back foot and progress on and make sure that their customers are happy. It's a very similar challenge that ESB or any utility would face in that use case. The lights have gone off. The first priority is to get the lights back on, because you have a corporate social responsibility to do so. There's safety issues, public safety concerns in having traffic light systems, water systems, all of this kind of stuff out of action. And that's all understandable and triageable if the security is under control of the company that is the grid operator. But if it was Tesco Bank that had a smart home solution, or switching on and off loads in your home, that got penetrated, and the negative effect of that was a grid outage. You achieve exactly the same outcome as a malicious actor. So the lights are still off in the country, even though ESB's or the utility security was really very good. So the biggest threat vector that we're seeing at the moment is that there's a third parties coming into bringing new offerings into the market that don't really appreciate the fundamental stability that's required and the fundamental security that's required to support an electrical grid such as the island of Ireland or Europe. They're coming into play in a new market and make some euros, make some cash, but they're not bringing the traditional steadfast security approach and quality approach that DSOs, TSOs, and system operators would have traditionally.
Okay, thank you. So we found an interesting presentation you gave at the APRI site, where you presented a new approach to overcome traditional outcomes and perception of security. Can you give us a bit of background and more information?
Yes, so the presentation was in the area of cybersecurity and cyber resilience. The question that was really posed out of it is that we can secure our networks very well. And based on the security use traditional approaches that we would have seen in enterprise data centers, financial, fintech type operations, who the approach
Mm-hmm.
traditionally for these people is to centralize all of their hardware into a data center and build a nice high wall around it and secure it from a physical point of view, and then create a single gate in and out. It's a similar concept to a castle and a keep. You have one main entrance in and out, and it's very easy to defend and to secure. When you look at the grid operator side of things, we're actually spreading out more and more. We're going out locally to your home now. We're putting a smart device in there and a smart communications in there, and we need to secure it at the edge. The cost factor for traditional enterprises, because you bring it into a data center, you can afford to spend a lot of money on securing it because you have everything in one location. Now we have 2.2 in Ireland, 2.2 million meter locations, where every euro that's spent on a meter, the implication is 2.2 million euros to the utility and to the customer at the end of the day. So security becomes the utmost concern, but it has to come at the right price. And understanding that, we have a number of projects looking at alternative approaches to securing metering traffic, which will be one, substation traffic using blockchain type cryptography and algorithms similar to Bitcoin and all of these cryptocurrencies. But as well as that, making the assumption that the network will be penetrated at some stage is probably one of the best approaches you can take towards security, and it's not a traditional approach that would be taken on board. So if we assume the network is penetrated, it's going to be a very insightful actor that would have gotten into the network, and they're not going to take the first occasion possible to affect the network and try and incur an outage. What they'll probably do is wait for a point in time when the network is at a state which isn't normal, so your security equipment won't actually see what malicious activities are going on because the network is in a random state anyway. And this case is from a utility point of view, occurs during a storm or a large outage. So you have devices communicating on the system that traditionally would have never communicated, only until the point of the first big storm. And during that point in the storm is probably when, if you were a highly intelligent actor, that's when you'd hit the big red button and jump in. So traditional firewall solutions, traditional offerings from the market don't actually capture any of that. They see it as erroneous traffic or non-standard traffic, which means that it's impossible to actually catch the activity in the first place. So you're left then with a question over why put in all of this technology if it's not going to be configured and understood in a way that the utility can get benefit from it. One of those big benefits is in the area of security operation centers and integrated security operation centers, that known skill sets within your business become aware of security and are able to interact with the systems in real time, so that they can make correlations between what's happening on your electrical network versus your communications network versus your security system, to ensure that the overall status quo is attained. And that's in short what the
Understood.
presentation was about.
So you are a smart network manager at ESB Networks. Can you just tell us a little bit more about your role there, and just about your role?
Yeah, so my current role is, as you said, Smart Networks Manager at ESB Networks. I'm in charge of the R&D and innovation program for the regulated DSO or DNO equivalent in Ireland, and we were responsible for all of the electrical assets of Ireland for both transmission and distribution. There's in around 250,000 substations and 170,000 kilometres of electrical network. We're seeing a huge change in technologies out there beyond our own network, and there's a need to react to it, specifically in the areas of mobility, electric vehicles, electrified heat and renewables, so wind and solar. 10 years ago, none of these were even anticipated, and 50 years ago, when the network was really built, The loads were never assumed to be that great or that consistent on the system. So we're faced with a challenge of either replace the asset of the electrical infrastructure in Ireland, which is very costly and is very time consuming, or complement it as best as possible with technology. Technology in the form of ICT or smart equipment in the home.
And so why are those merging technologies so important?
I think the emerging technologies are very important to us because they can actually be the creator of issues on the system, but they can also be the answer to issues on the system. So all of these new smart devices, be it Nest, Energy, all of the propositions you see at the European Utility Week, they can be used to interact with the market, but they could also be used by the DSO to balance their own system and to ensure that it's fully utilised in a better way, that's more economically beneficial than just gaining a few euros on the market or spending money on devices that are neat to have in the home. Having that control and leveraging some of that control as a system operator at the edge means that you don't have to invest as heavily in the assets over a long period of time, which at the end of the day will reflect back to the customer in the connection agreements and charges that they pay.
Okay, so Jonathan, a last question. Speaking about this event, so why did you come here? To find for new technology, to see what your peers are doing?
I think it's actually definitely both.
Okay.
It's uncanny when you come to these events that you meet up with colleagues from different jurisdictions, and even though you haven't spoken for a year or 2 years, you've come up with the same solution, or you're thinking along the same. So it's great to reassure yourself that you're on the right track. But the stands technology and the pace of which things are moving on is alarming at this point. There's a huge amount of e-mobility stands here, and a staggering amount of IoT companies as well.
Yes, as well.
The likes of Ericsson's and Cisco's, they never played in this arena 5 years ago, and they're here in front and centre with Siemens at the moment. So it's really to get up to pace and make sure that we're not missing anything really.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for
Thank you
taking the time. Please feel free to check our Engerati YouTube channel for more relevant content and all the interview at the European Utility Week 2016. Goodbye.